Okay, so there's something I kind of want to do to start, but I wanted to like kind of wake up a little bit more. So basically, for those who didn't see yesterday, is SPB's podcast basically awakened my evil cycle of Overwatch, and I finally have snapped, and wanted to have something a little bit better to put up on YouTube before that podcast goes out. Because it went on SPB's channel today, but mine will probably go out like tomorrow or something. But yeah, this game is bad right now. This game is so bad. It is. I don't have words for it. I mean, I have a lot of words for it. None of them are nice, is what I mean. Chat, for those who didn't see SPB's podcast yesterday, and that'll be up on YouTube tomorrow, I basically snapped, and it has awoken my evil cycle, I think, with Overwatch. Because, quite frankly, I am really not happy with the game. Season 2 has been a pretty massive disappointment. From Season 1 having the problems of the mid-season patch not going out on the 25th of October, it got delayed all the way to November 15th, and then got delayed again to the 17th. And then we were promised this whole big, oh yeah, like it's gonna be a big sweeping balance patch with a bunch of big sweeping changes, and you know, we're gonna nerf Sojourn, and you know, we're gonna fix Doomfist, and everyone's sitting there saying, okay, like, you know, we'll see what you got. And then they handled this by far probably one of the most embarrassing patches I've ever seen. Like, Sojourn is literally buffed with a Mercy Pocket now. Doomfist is just like making support players play Dead by Daylight in Overwatch. Hog is running rampant. I actually don't even understand how Hog has been allowed to exist as long as he has in this game. I've been a Hog hater all the way since like 2020, when they started micro buffing him over and over and over during Double Shield. And I was like, dude, like at one point, like once he got to the point where he was literally giving less damage, or sorry, less ult charge by shooting Hog, you got 25% less ult charge. That was it for me. I was like, holy shit, I don't actually think tanks, sorry, a tank shouldn't have a ranged, easy, one-shot kill. You know what, and it made me realize, you know what I realized yesterday? You know Reinhardt's pin is 225. So where you have to literally charge up, rev up, fly your whole body across the map, catch someone in terrible hitbox that is pin, where so half the time you boop them away, half time they teleport away, or the other half of the time you actually do end up landing the pin, you don't even make it to the wall because you have to hit the wall and then kill them. Things like Reaper and Mei, they either freeze or fade away. Hog doesn't have that problem. Hog is the only tank, other than named Sigma, who can do the rock left click melee combo to kill anyone in the game. Actually, can Sigma do it on 250 HP targets? That's actually a good question. But Hog is the only one, the only tank. And he's just, it's insane how long he gets to survive. I had a game yesterday where their Kiriko had 18k damage, their Lucio had an 8k or 9k healing, and their Hog had 10k healing. And it's like, what? How do we allow this shit? Not even Sigma can one-shot 250 HP targets.
Sorry.
With his rock, left-click melee combo. Can't even do it. Then we get Ramattra that comes out, and Ramattra feels super underwhelming. He was marketed terribly, and I actually said in my original video that I thought his like Omnic / staff form felt the best. And this is where I actually thought he was good, because the long-range poke. His Nemesis form felt like dog shit. And guess what? In that meantime, you know, contenders and, you know, people have been scrimming and trying to figure out what's the best way to play Ramattra, and some people actually think Ramatra's really good. But how do people think Ramatra's really good? Do you want to know what I've heard is the new contenders meta when they play Ramattra? This is how they play Ramattra.
Still good. Looks like another 2 months.
Let me show you how you play Ramattra. Play at corners. Oh, pressure.
Now do you see your error?
Okay, go back to corner. The way they play Ramattra is block bot, because he's basically a Risa, and you just stand there and just don't die. That is the most unengaging, boring bullshit gameplay I have ever heard. And if that becomes meta, it's because basically you're just sitting there to hold space while your DPS do things. The age of aggressive tank play and making the first move and being the person who initiate fights and controls the actual tempo of fights is dead. This is also the second character in a row that they have completely failed the marketing of it. Kiriko was a good example. Kiriko was marked as a DPS support. Well, guess what? The way you play Kiriko in high rank and slash in pro play in Overwatch League, when they played Kiriko, they said her kit sucks. The cleanse is pretty good. It's pretty good. The teleport survivability is pretty good. Her damage is super inconsistent. You're not going to do much damage. Yeah, you know, you can hit headshots and do a lot and be defensive, but there's not really a whole lot of like consistency with that. And consistency is key. What was good? Her ultimate. Her ultimate was insane. That one thing that everyone said, the ultimate seems really good when she originally came out. So what they did was they designed comps around what performed well with her ultimate. That's why you played Winston, because the Winston was zzz, and it was like jump, 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 bubble, 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 and then Reaper just go, and then they put Reaper, boom, 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 because you could shoot a million miles an hour. It was way easier to aim him. Sojourn wasn't the best combo with Kiriko ult, but Sojourn was so broken that you needed to have a Sojourn, and then you threw Lucio in because you were playing the Reaper Winston rush comp anyways, so you needed the Lucio. That was the way they designed the comp. But she was, again, marketed as a DPS support, and actually the worst way to play her is by trying to go and do a lot of DPS. Then Ramattra comes out, and Ramattra is marketed as, oh, you basically use his poke form, it's just, you know, long-range damage, and then you get close, pop Nemesis form, and go crazy, you go in, start doing damage, start doing a bunch. Another failure. His Nemesis form is terrible. Like, you think it's like a Reinhardt hammer where you're going to go in and start swinging around and trying to do a bunch of damage. But, like, the rate of fire is not that fast, and it takes 4 punches to kill someone. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 punches that you have to hit consecutively on a 200 HP target that receives no healing. That's the key. Is really ass. And you won't end up really securing kills. You end up just kind of feeding and dying, and that's why Ramattra feels weak. And then you end up going like, whoa, I popped his Nemesis form and I went in and I died. Like, what the hell? It's because you're so undefensible. Like, you don't have any defenses when you're doing that. So that's why everyone's playing him like this. You play him as a block bot, and that's the engaging gameplay we're going towards. I've had this opinion for a while, and you know, I actually want to stick up for like support players, because support players are playing Dead by Daylight right now. But I also have to be real with you. Tank queues might be the longest queues, and I've been getting all the shiny new stuff, but tank has not been fun. And I actually decided to start saying that recently, and I've actually found out that a lot of other tank players feel like that as well. Tank has not felt fun. Tank has actually felt like shit. And tank has been on decline ever since beta 1. The only tanks that feel good is this one. And why does this one feel good? Because you can do this. It's in high elo, it's called the one-shot meta. You have Hog, you have Sojourn, even Kiriko, like if you play Tracer, you can end up getting one-shot, but it's like, basically you're playing around sitting there and playing for your one-shots, and it's crazy, and it's actually fucking insane. It's sad that, like, I actually think that we've gone down the road that we're trying to, like, I don't know, we're like overthinking ourselves into the ground, or maybe lack of thinking, or maybe lack of listening ourselves in the ground to the point where nobody's happy anymore. And if you look around Twitter, everyone on Twitter, that all my fellow streamers and people who've been playing the game, like, are all saying like, this feels like ass. And I'm really worried that the future of Overwatch is casual, because that's both good and bad. It's good because the game will then never die. With the seasonal format, and every season new content comes out, you know, as a casual player, it'll never run out for you. You'll always have something new to do, and then we haven't got to PvE yet. Whenever PvE comes out, like, that's gonna be a whole lot of new stuff. But as a competitive gamer or plays this game as your main game, I don't think you're the audience anymore, because the casual community is way bigger, like, being honest with yourselves. And why is the casual community more important? There's more of them that care about skins, they care about battle pass, they care about all this stuff. And if there's more of them, and they care about those things that make them money, well, they're probably going to go down that route. But unfortunately, people are finding out, is going down that route isn't going to get anyone happy. Blizzard is going down the really bad path, and I think that everyone's not having fun. support players are playing Dead by Daylight versus Hog and Doomfist. Tank players aren't having fun because all the signature tank heroes that actually people wanted to play for a long time and actually feel good, like, for example, Junker Queen. Junker Queen was OP as in the Overwatch League, like, let's think about it. Why was Junker Queen OP? Because they had Kiriko coming out. They had Kiriko coming out, and Kiriko was supposed to be the counter to Junker Queen's like anti-meta, which dominated Beta 2. And everyone was like, oh my god, you know, the antis are too strong. So they nerfed Junker Queen, her shout, which to be fair, her shout was too strong. But then when Kiriko came out, that she didn't get a compensating buff. There's another example of that with our recent friend Genji, where Genji ended up getting a bunch of nerfs last season of the mid-season patch. And if you remember, chat, it was cited that the reason Genji was so strong was because of the DPS passive. What would happen is you would snowball fights with the DPS passive because he was so fast, so they ended up nerfing him for that. Did anyone notice that they took that part of the DPS passive out this season? So the part that made Genji strong got taken out of the game, and Genji got 0 compensating buffs. You can't sit there and tell me someone there is thinking about cause and effect. There's no way. I just don't believe it. That makes no sense. Like, if there's something that was making a character too strong, and then you take that thing away, isn't the character now going to suck? I don't get it. I don't know.
Down you go.
But then you also hear stuff like the Mercy change. So there was a Twitter sphere, which I don't know if we ever uploaded that. Maybe we'll do that at some point. But the Twitter sphere was basically talking about like their ideas for trying balancing stuff, and like Mercy getting 5 extra damage, which was, or sorry, 5 extra bullets, which was hilarious. And they said that Mercy's win rate goes up as you go through the ranks. You know what Mercy's job is as you go up through the ranks? Is much more of a DPS pocket. Do you know who you DPS pocket right now? You DPS pocket Sojourn. You know who's f***ing busted right now? Sojourn. You know who has a crazy high win rate and high elo? Sojourn. So if Sojourn's crazy with Mercy pocket, wouldn't that mean that Mercy's win rate is probably higher because Sojourn's good? Oh, we didn't think that far ahead. I honestly, my good faith is really, really, really being tested at this point. There's been so many problems, and I feel like we're genuinely getting gaslit. Like, for example, before Overwatch 2, we were told that counter swapping isn't really a thing anymore, and we were told like there's data or whatever behind it. I remember SVB was one of the biggest people that was advocating, saying like hero swapping is not that important in Overwatch, and there was data to back up that statistic. Basically, the whole idea behind it was to make you think, oh, locking heroes behind the battle pass isn't that bad because hero swapping isn't that important anyways. So the whole argument behind heroes in the battle pass was you're going to make it's going to be competitively not fun and not fair, because if you're not in the battle, if you don't have the battle pass character, then all of a sudden you're going to be behind everyone else. So the whole idea was, oh, switching actually doesn't matter in Overwatch anyways. But then we get into Overwatch 2 and there's immediately a full passive for every character where if you swap, you keep 30% of your ult charge, period, which encourages you to swap more. And then on top of that, you know what is really not fun? Especially if you play tank. If you play tank and you win the first fight, there's actually a clip on Twitter of Samito realizing this from SVB saying it. If you win the first fight on tank, you actually end up losing more often than not. Why is that? Because if you walk out on Winston, right? Let's say you walk out on Winston and they walked out on Zarya, and you win the first fight on defense on Winston. Zarya still has like 25 to 30% ult charge when she died, goes to spawn, counter swaps Hog with 0 repercussion. 0. Because you didn't get that much ult charge in the first fight anyways. So you keep up with the counter swap, then you win the next fight because you're on the better counter swapped heroes, and then you snowball into 60% ult charge, and then the other side that had 60% ult charge when they won the first fight now has to decide, do you stick with your ult charge and go and do an ult fight, or do you swap, lose the ult economy, but then have the hero advantage? It's why counter swapping in Overwatch is good, but if you actually believe that counter swapping is down to, well, I picked X hero, so I should win the game, Dude, you could literally train a hamster to do that. Like, if you trained a hamster, that if I showed you a photo of Junker Queen, that the hamster would go point at a photo at Roadhog, and then it would get food. I bet you could genuinely train a hamster to do that. Maybe not a hamster, but like at least a dog or a monkey. Like, you could genuinely train them that if you see this thing, this character, you go to this one. That's not good gameplay. That's not smart game sense. This game's been out for 6 years. Yes, there's certain things that are good counter swaps, like going Cassidy versus Tracer to help your backline back in Overwatch 1, so you have the flashbang and whatnot. Those are like smart ideas and smart counters, but there was other things to do. You could go Tracer and match the Tracer and take the duels with her. You could just completely ignore her and go like May Reaper and run their tank line down. There was so many other things you could do, but in Overwatch 2, it's such a heavy counter-picking tank meta that tanks are having no fun, because if you walk out, ready? This is how it goes. First season, you walked out on Winston, they walked out on D.Va and destroyed you, so then you'd go Zarya to beat the D.Va, and then they would go Winston or they would go Zarya. That's how everyone ended up playing Zarya in the first season of Overwatch. Then when Zarya got nerfed, it's become Hog. Sorry, let's go to season 2. It's become Hog, Doomfist, Orisa, and Sigma. Doomfist is just the good Doom players playing. That's genuinely it. Then you can go Hog to counter Doom, but honestly, Doom at high level is actually pretty good against Hog, as long as you can dodge the hook. It's still bad, though. But Orisa really shuts down Doom. And Orisa also really shuts down Hog, because Orisa can spear away the hook, and it can keep him away from her teammates. But, this is the big but, Orisa then can't do anything else. She's not threatening to DPS. She doesn't have the one-shots. Like, think about it. Like this is Orisa's combos, ready? So Orisa, if you spear someone into a wall and then hit all headshots, you can get a kill. That looks good, right? That looks good. That doesn't look that hard. But you have to have a wall behind them. And if you end up not getting those headshots, which realistically you're not, that time to kill is so much lower. Or sorry, is so much slower. And if they get healing, and they're gonna move, they're not gonna stand there, you will not really end up securing those kills every single time. So Orisa then has pretty much made it so that she's shutting down the enemy Hog from getting one-shots, but then it becomes a DPS battle. Like, if their DPS are better than your DPS, GG. If your DPS are better than their DPS, you're gonna be in a good spot. But then you still have to keep actively shutting down their Hog. So then what ends up happening is you either mirror Orisa, or you go Sigma. And the Sigma can just poke out the Orisa. You can just poke her out, which is good. But guess what happens? If you poke out the Orisa, she walks back into spawn. Oh, Sigma's shield's gone? And so basically what's happened is just like season 1, instead of playing the rock, paper, scissors, you just play gun, which is Roadhog. And then you get the one-shots. I missed that hook. You get the one-shots, and you're so threatening, and you have such self-sustaining, because you're like, oh, I'm getting hooked, oh, I'm getting hurt, ha ha ha, 50% damage reduction and 350 heals, woo! And you get ult charge off of that. So, if you're taking damage on Roadhog, and you're getting f***ed up, guess what? Oh, there's another 20% ult charge. Hook, popped in, popped the whole hog, and you just start blowing people away. And the best part of it all is it doesn't even require much coordination. You don't need a whole lot of coordination to play Hog. Genuinely, between the shop and its prices, the meta that is happening in Overwatch / like the balancing changes, the lack of communication from the Overwatch team. Oh, I haven't even talked about the whole ranked problem. Like, if you want like the full in-depth, I'd probably watch the video that goes out, the podcast video that goes out tomorrow. But Overwatch put this shit out, basically trying to, quote, explain why everyone's ranks dropped, and it doesn't make sense. So basically, everyone who played ranked, let's say you finished last season Diamond, they reset you back to like low gold. So their idea behind that is like an Apex. An Apex, like if you're Predator, like top rank, you get reset back to the bottom of Diamond, but you still play against other Predators until you get to Diamond, and then like so on and so forth. But the difference is, though, is you're playing in Diamond lobbies. So let's say you don't play for like 3 weeks, and then you come in, all the Pred players have already gone on and leveled up. You're playing against actual Diamond players at that point. So in Overwatch, the difference would be if, let's say, you reset from GM to Diamond, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, the GM hops on, he's going to play against actual diamonds. So you would actually be playing against players that are of lower skill level to you. So instead of you're playing in like silver, let's say like you were plat and you got reset to silver, and it feels like you're playing like out of your mind. You're like, I have to play like a psychopath to win these games. What the It's because you're playing in plat lobbies. You're still playing in plat lobbies with a silver icon. It's just making you play a bunch of games to get your plat icon back. It makes no fucking sense. It makes no sense. It doesn't matter if you come back in 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, 6 weeks later. You still have to play against other plat players to get your plat back. And that's why it feels infuriating. It's infuriating. It's like this like half cold, half warm, to hold your hand but not hold your hand type of deal. It's like either give us the full reset and MMR resets with it, because don't forget, this is going to be the matchmaking rating when you get a game, when you play against plats and it says you're silver, is a magic number behind the scenes that I don't see, you don't see, nothing. We just have to make an educated guess. And then the number you're shown, or the skill tier division you're shown, is just fucking made up. It's not even real. It's just the funny symbol you're shown now. Because what actually matters is the back-end matchmaking rating. So it's like and never mind, you have to play 7 games, 7 wins to have your rank change, or 20 losses. I don't even know where I'm sitting half the time. You don't know where you're sitting half the time. And then at the end of the season last season, what ended up happening was, let's say you finished Masters 1, and then you played 3 or 4 more games, and then you never got a re-rank. Well, guess what happened? It still counted those 3 or 4 games, so you finished Masters 2, and you thought you were going to finish Masters 1, and you're like, what? Where this became a big problem was in top 500, people finished top 500, and then the season ended, and they weren't top 500 anymore. They lost their title. Imagine finishing top 500 and wanting the top 500 rewards for finishing it, and you don't get it because of some magic system they didn't tell you about. Like, how much more shit are we going to deal with at this point? It's getting old. I'm genuinely getting sick of it, because I feel like a lot of content creators put their fucking necks out there to really talk about, hey, Blizzard is making a good effort to be more communicative. They want to balance the game faster. They want to make a good game. They're on our side. We all want to make a good game together. We all want to be a part of this. We all want it to succeed. We all want to see it do well. And it's kind of being spit in the face a little bit, because there's a lot of people that kind of saw how good things were supposed to be and were sung this whole song and dance, and it's just the opposite, if not just like Overwatch 1 again, if not worse. Because in Overwatch 1, we at least figured out at some point that you need to have updates every 2 weeks, and then every 3rd week. Okay, listen, I'm sorry, I'll come back to later. I'll come back to later. Every 3 weeks, an update comes out. So every 2 weeks a patch note was delivered, and then third week it would be coming out. It kept the game fresh, it kept it moving, it kept it going. It's not like Apex. This game is not like Apex or Valorant. Apex and Valorant, you can play a bunch of different agents or heroes and a bunch of different guns. Overwatch, you are always playing the same setup on the same characters. So you don't have combinations, you don't have this stuff. It needs to be faster, it needs to be refreshed more. I'm sick of this data balancing. They look at the data of the win rates of heroes. For a good example is Reinhardt. Reinhardt has a high win rate through most of the ranks, but once you hit Masters and GM, his pick rate is terrible, but he still has a decent win rate. Why? Because there's fucking like 5 Reinhardt players, and when they do play him, it's to actually win, and they're good at the character, but like, the character will never get a buff, even though it genuinely needs it more than anything, because it gets bullied. And it's like, there's no reason Pin shouldn't kill any squishy in the game. It should be at least 250. I don't know why I got nerfed from 300 to 225 in Overwatch 2. And Fire Strike is not as threatening anymore, because it went from 100 to 90. And the thought was behind it was like, oh, if you have 2 Fire Strikes, you can end up killing anyone. I want to know, actually, theoretically, if I hit 2 Fire Strikes on a squishy back to back, why am I not allowed to earn that kill? Because I feel like hitting 2 Fire Strikes in a row is a much harder thing to do than to go and hit the fucking silly hook and one-tap somebody. I feel like this right here on moving targets at range is a way harder mechanic to hit. And it ruins so many synergies with like BAP window Fire Strike. It ruins synergies with Ana. It ruins so many things. It ruins so many synergies, and we just don't think about it because we look at the data and the data only. Data can't be the only thing you look at. It needs to be half data and half art, and I feel like Overwatch has lost the art, and that really makes me sad. Anyways, this is my call for help. I hope that things turn around. because we were doing so good and people were loving this game and playing the shit out of it. And I don't think Overwatch has earned enough good faith out of that 1 month or 1.5 decent months to start pulling this bullshit this early in Overwatch 2. So, anyways, yeah, I'm sure I'm forgetting some stuff because there's actually so much to talk about, but I think this will do for now.